You guys have been asking me nonstop some self-help spiritual book suggestions. So I'm going to give you a list of my top 5 most life-changing self-improvement spiritual books. Here we go.
This is your life, no one else has gotta live it. This is your fight that only you can win.
Hello everyone and welcome to Freedom Friday, where you learn how to free yourself and live your dreams. I'm Darienne, your certified spiritual rock star. And if you're new here, welcome. And if you want to get these videos every single week, be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell notification thingy so that you get notifications every time I post a video, which happens every week, sometimes more. Okay, so right now I have this weird lighting thing going on. I don't know, I've been playing around with lighting. It's so doomy gloomy today that I don't have daylight, and I'm just playing around with things. So if I look like I come from the heavens, that's why. So I'm going to give you this list from number 5 being the 5th most influential book of my life and number 1 being the most influential book in my life. So the very first book, it's not a book, it's a book. The very first book is upside down. It's this one. This is Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping, a revolutionary 5-stage process to heal relationships, let go of anger and blame, and find peace in any situation. So somebody gave me this book on CD way back in the day, probably 10 years ago. And I gotta be honest, I am surprised that this book never made it to a bestseller list at all. I don't know what that's about. But it is the kind of book, it's about the book title, Radical Forgiveness. If you're really wanting to learn how to forgive people from a perspective of love rather than a perspective of fear, and really from this point of view that we are all one, that we are all here connected to one another, and we're all here for one another with love, and even those tumultuous relationships have some sort of loving basis underneath of them. If you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty about having a perspective of love and forgiving in that sense, this is definitely a really, really good book. It's also a good book for anybody that's just got that toxic resentment that you're holding on to. So there it is. I'm going to put a link down below to be able to access all of these books on Amazon, if they're all available on Amazon. So if there's links available on Amazon, I'll put them all down there. So there's that one. Number 4 is probably all of these are, but this is one of the most directly influential books on this particular channel and my entire career. The author of this book has really catapulted my career because she's the one that trained me and certified me to be a spiritual coach. And that is this little puppy, May Cause Miracles by Gabrielle Bernstein. This book is a 40-day practice. It is for those of you that really want to get into a spiritual practice, get down to the nitty-gritty, stop playing games, and just do the work. Do you know what I mean? This is for y'all. And for those of you who don't really know how to start a spiritual practice, you don't know anything to do, this book guides your every single move. Gabby takes all of the things that she knew at the point that she wrote this book. I know she knows a great deal more spiritual tools, but everything that she had gathered up until the point that she wrote this book, she really made it just this simple daily little practices and these little blurbs that you can read. So the reason this is such a big influence on this particular channel is because I started this channel as an accountability vlog, I guess is what you could call it, to hold myself accountable for actually doing the 40-day practice. And I did a vlog every single day, and it didn't look beautiful. I just did it and I just posted it and I didn't think about it, and that was it. And that was how I started this channel. That was how I became a spiritual coach. That was how I found Gabby Bernstein's Spirit Junkie Masterclass. That was how I developed this whole entire YouTube channel and grew such an amazing fan base and following based off of this book. So I would definitely pick it up for those of you that are in need of starting a spiritual practice and really just buckling down and getting it done. And my number 3 book, of course, I could not have a book without, or could not have a list of books without one by Abraham Hicks, and that is this pretty puppy. Ask and it is given, Learning to Manifest Your Desires by Esther and Jerry Hicks and the Teachings of Abraham. So my book has like all these little tabs in it. I'm not sure if you can see them, but because it tells me like it's a quick way to get to all the processes. So this book, and now I don't care what you've learned about the law of attraction, Abraham Hicks has something different to say about it. And to me, it's been a crazy, interesting, sometimes really difficult process to learn the teachings of Abraham. But you guys know I'm just so obsessed with the teachings of Abraham. I'm actually going to be seeing Esther and the teachings of Abraham. I'm going to be live at an Abe event 2 days from now. Well, actually, the time that you're seeing it is going to be tomorrow. I'm very excited in Philadelphia. So if you guys are already planning on being there, come check me out. Say hello. But okay. So this is a book. The main part about this book is that it gives you processes. It has 21 processes, which is basically just 21 tools and techniques that you can use no matter what stage of your spiritual awakening you're in, your spiritual journey you're in, no matter what stage of emotion you are in. It does not matter. This book gives you a tool for that moment that you are in to help you raise your vibrations and get back to your truth. Your truth being love, light, bliss, joy. All of your dreams can unfold and manifest in that state. And this book's only goal is to get you to that, right? Abraham Hicks's only goal is to get you back to yourself, is to connect you back to yourself so that you can be manifesting everything that you dream. And so I love Abe Hicks because they talk about the law of attraction and spirituality. And there is no disconnect there, where in a great many books and teachings about the law of attraction, there is a disconnect between a real deep connection with spirit and the law of attraction. Okay, so that's definitely a beautiful one. I think it's a must-have for everybody. My number 2 book is a book that has been the most influential as it pertains to my spiritual awakening. It's what opened my eyes. So I read this particular book first time I ever picked it up. I bought it. I brought it home to a friend's house. Not home. I brought it to a friend's house. And we both sat and read. While he read The Secret, I read this book. And we read for a couple hours. I read a couple chapters. And I was so enveloped by this book, or just stuck in this book. I was just so enamored by this book. And what happened when I drove home is I could see a new dimension in the physical world. And I had what I would call a spiritual awakening. It felt like for the very first time in my life, I had woken up from a dream that lasted 24 years at the point I was 24 years old. And that is this one, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This talks about just that, the power of now, being in the moment, accepting the what isness, right? Either accepting it or changing it, using all of the power that is in this particular moment. It doesn't even talk about focusing your mind, but it forces you by what it talks about to focus your mind into the only place that you have power. It taught me to really be released of the chains of the past that I put myself on, realizing that the past didn't even exist. The future that I worried about so much didn't exist either. And all I could do was be in this moment and create in this moment. And so, I mean, if there is any book more powerful in anyone's life, this has been the book for me. And I have talked about this many times in the past. I'm not sure I've mentioned it in quite a while. I know these books are kind of old books, but it was a long time ago that I had my spiritual awakening, thank God. And I know a lot of people are waking up right now because of what's going on in the globe. A lot of times when the shit hits the fan on the outside, we all have to go within and find something greater. So this is definitely a power book. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And my number one, drum roll please. Cha-ching. Of course you guys knew it was going to be this one. A Course in Miracles. So I read this book every single day on Facebook Live. I read it to you guys. Some of you aren't there. I mean, there's 10,000 of you that follow me on YouTube, and there's probably a couple hundred of you that follow me on Facebook and actually follow this. But this is the kind of book, oh my lordy, lordy, lordy. Now, this is not a religious book. I'm going to try to just say it in a nutshell, right? This is a metaphysical book, textbook. It is written by a woman who was an atheist. She was a college professor. Essentially, this book was channeled through her, and it's pretty much the spirit of Jesus channeling through. That makes it sound really fucking weird, and I get that, but but don't you feel like the Bible's channeled too? So like if you read the Bible, I don't know, but the verbiage in this book can sometimes be a little bit off-putting to those of you that maybe have left your Christian religion, or maybe I've had some people that are Jewish that read this book, or even are Christian and read this book and feel like this is of the devil. I don't know. I mean, don't read a book, obviously, that doesn't feel in line with your spirit. Of course, I'm not going to be like, I'm not trying to convert y'all. If you don't want to read the book, don't read the fucking book. Like, doesn't really matter to me. I'm not trying to start a cult of A Course in Miracles. But in this book, the verbiage, they use words like holy, Christ, God. That can be off-putting for some people, but it's really about fear and love. It is about basically unlearning and having awareness of and unlearning all of these thoughts of fear, which really are illusions, because it's all perception. It's all made up in our mind, which goes along with everything that these other authors talk about in the other books. But also just to get back to love, your truth, right? Just to understand that we are in these bodies taking on this personality for the time being, but we're so much greater than that, and really trying to be as close in alignment with the greatness of what we are as possible, right? It's not possible right now to be the whole of who we are, but to be an expression of as much of who we are as we possibly can be. And when I say it's not possible to be the whole of who we are, I believe that's because of our choice. We've really just wanted to focus intently here to be on the leading edge, as Abraham Hicks talks about. So here's the thing about this book, just for those of you that have picked it up and maybe it scares you to death, right? This is a 3-part book. I'm going to try to just get through this quickly. It's a 3-part book. The first part is the text, which is basically just tells you everything that you need to know. Basically, the second part is the daily workbook lessons. There are 365 lessons for you to do every single day to retrain your mind. Essentially, it's what you're doing, brain reentrainment. And then the end is the teacher's manual. That's to pay it forward. That is to be the light. That is to understand how to bring this to your brothers and sisters, as this book would say it. It talks about forgiveness. It talks about the atonement being the shift of your mindset and your perception, essentially. Some of the big wigs in the spiritual guru world, Marianne Williamson did a book based on A Course in Miracles called A Return to Love. I've actually never read that book. And then Gabby Bernstein is a student of Marianne Williamson, so then became a student of A Course in Miracles. I think that Eckhart Tolle mentions this book. I heard this book mentioned so many times, and I was like, what the hell is this book? And years ago, I just picked it up, I bought it, and I was like, okay, so I guess I'm going to read this book. So here's the thing. When I started reading this book, it took me a long time and many chapters to even understand anything I was reading. It is very difficult to understand. It is even more difficult. In fact, it is impossible to understand when you're reading from a place of ego. So until you understand where that shift is, and trust me, it'll happen. Just keep on keeping on. You know what I mean? And I really think that everybody is like, how do I start reading this? They suggest reading the text before you do the lessons. I just jumped around, to be honest. Like, I opened all 3 books at once. I have multiple bookmarks in here. I've already read the teacher's manual. I'm still not finished the text. This is one of those books, it does feel like the Bible to me because I pick it up, I can open it, start reading, I can read 2-3 pages and I just kind of wake up and I'm like, oh, or I just have like a little aha that I could take with me and kind of be like, oh, let me ponder this for a little bit. And so I've really enjoyed the deliciousness of reading this rather than, and sort of diving into the book rather than finishing it. Right? So that's just been my personal way of doing it. I would love to know if you guys have read this particular book and how you've read it. I'd love to know if you read any of the other 5 books that I mentioned here. I think that I'm going to be doing these types of videos and kind of giving you maybe some more book reviews. I know I've done book reviews in the past that you guys have really, really loved. I'm reading a book right now called You Are a Badass at Making Money. It is the author of You Are a Badass, Jen Sincero. That's how you say her name. She is fucking awesome. If you love me and the way I talk and the way I curse and the way I'm goofy and weird, you will love the way she writes as well, because I feel like I'm reading myself, which is interesting. But if you guys have read any of these books, I would love to know your experiences down below. And if you have any other book suggestions, everybody that follows me is always, I'm always looking for the next most delicious, leading edge, mind expanding book I possibly can find. And so I know that you guys are always looking for that as well. So here's a wonderful place to start, and check down in the comments below and see if anybody has some other book suggestions. All right, guys, I love you so much. Thank you for being with me, and I'll see you next week. Mwah. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Please go ahead and check me out over on social media. So I am on Instagram and Facebook at Darienne Empire, doing all sorts of different things over there. And I'm on Snapchat at Darienne Music. So find me there for some behind the scenes stuff, and my little meadow pops in every once in a while too, and all the weird stuff that I do on the weekends. Also, if you are interested in gaining more coaching from me, getting some more delicious tools, I have so many things that I'm offering on my website right now. If you go to DarienneEmpire.com, you can go to the coaching tab, or you can go into the shop. I am offering all sorts of wonderfulness, like guided meditation packages that you can do for a full 21 days if you really want to be buckling down in that spiritual practice. I do one-on-one coaching. I do readings that I'm doing only for a limited time. And I have a monthly membership if you want to have a little bit more of a sense of community. So I have lots of wonderful things that I'm offering all the time. Check out this awesome video from the archive. Back in the day when I was young, I made this video for you people to watch it. Bye guys.